Put your hands behind you.
So.
Get your cameras out, man. Hold this. Man, they're gonna drop them right here. Don't put your gun point this way.
I know. Oh, right in his face.
Oh, right on the face. Film it?
Video technology is everywhere. Its use poses unique opportunities and unique challenges for all of us. The same is true for police. If a video recording becomes a standard part of interactions with citizens, those who protect and serve may be forced to make some difficult changes in how they execute their public responsibilities. And the honest witness that video can provide is all too absent from many of law enforcement's most intense interactions.
Cameras are everywhere, and they can be a valuable tool for transparency and accountability in law enforcement. Not only should the average citizen be able to film if they think the actions of an officer are out of line, but police should employ cameras. They provide great evidence, and if there's a question, it'll show, was their use of force justified?
Freedom-fighting patriots believe quite correctly that it is their First Amendment right to film the police in public. And yet they, like so many across this country, are being told by law enforcement that they do not have the right to film the police. America, if we can't keep an eye on the police, how can we keep them accountable to the people they are sworn to serve and protect? We need an end to this East Germany-like infringement on our inherent right to free speech. You can film the police in public.
Every day in America, police are too tough. Every day in America, police cross the line and abuse citizens. Every day in America, police get away with that. White America was shocked at what they saw police doing to Rodney King. Black America would have loved to have been shocked by what they saw police do to Rodney King, but Black America only could have been shocked if what the police did to Rodney King was something completely alien to their community experience, was something they couldn't imagine the police doing in their community. There's a Rodney King every day in this country, and Black America has always known that. Everything those cops did, they've done to someone else when there were no video cameras rolling. They've done it, and they've gotten away with it. They know just how much assault and battery their department will let them commit. They know just how many false arrests their department will let them do. They know just how much latitude their department gives them on abusing citizens. They do it because they know they can. They do it because they know they will get away with it. None of the officers who cross the line will be disciplined in any way. None of them will be charged with the assaults and batteries that they committed. None of them will be charged with the false arrests. None of them will lose a day's pay. The police department doesn't need an investigation to figure out what happened. The department has already said the officers acted appropriately. Case closed. That's it. If the department does, by some miracle, by some chance, discipline anyone for what happened, I will immediately rewrite what would then be my mistaken presumption tonight that American police have once again gotten away with another crime against the American people they are sworn to serve and protect.
In some cases, an accurate recording of a police encounter changes everything.
Graber was riding his motorcycle on I-95, taping the experience with a helmet-mounted camera. The first officer that approached Graber did so with gun drawn and badge not visible. For the first 4 seconds of this encounter, it looks like a carjacking.
Get off the motorcycle. Get off the motorcycle. Get off the motorcycle. State police. See your hands. Put your hands up.
On another level, it's troubling because citizens have a constitutional right to record the activities of public officials.
Since the Rodney King beating was caught on an amateur video camera, American police officers have known video cameras are their worst enemies. They will do anything they can to stop you from legally videotaping how they handle their responsibility to serve and protect you.
Move. Okay, hold on. No, we're not holding on. You move. Don't push me. Don't push me. Let go of me. Let go. All right. Let's go. Yeah, move. Okay. Move this. You push me to sleep. Why are you doing this? 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 We're on public property, sir. We're on public property. Now you're getting traffic. No, you're pushing me in the street. I was on public property. I was on the sidewalk. Just shut it off. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go, guys. Relax, relax. You're under arrest.
The United States is not the land of the free and the home of the brave. It is the land of the fee and the home of the slave. And more and more Americans are waking up to that fact, and hallelujah to that, because only if they do so and then act upon their new perception will they truly have any chance of living in a land that is anyway associated with freedom, and a land that makes a contribution to peace in the world, not a contribution to more and more slaughter, more and more conflict, and therefore more and more acquisition of people and land. We are now at the point where those institutions and these institutions of control and surveillance and all the rest of it are now being put in place. So this hidden dictatorship all this time is now coming to the surface where it can be seen. And this gives us an opportunity for people to actually start to do something about what's happening. Because instead of being some far off sometime over the rainbow, it might come sometime, it's now in our face. The police state is staring us in the eye, and it's getting more and more imposed upon us and more imposed on society every day. More and more people are waking up faster and faster and faster. Now, there's a reason for this, which we can discuss at another time. It's to do with an energetic change which is affecting the way people see the world and see themselves, and it's been predicted a very long time. And the elite are trying, in simple terms, to put the lid upon that awakening.
He asked me to get back in my car, and I again said, "Show me the tape, please show me the tape." He asked me to get back in the car, and then he pulled out his taser, and said I was under arrest. I said, don't do this in front of my kids. I got back in the car, and he said he wanted me back out of the car now. And I said, why am I under arrest? I've done nothing wrong. I wasn't speeding. I wasn't on my cell phone. He then yanked me out of the car and wanted me to go down, put my hands or lie. Pulled his taser out, and the first shot jolted me, and I was trying to get back in the car again because I was scared. And then he yanked me away again, and that's when he tased me, and I went down on the ground. It felt like it was it was an electrical shock going through you, and I had no control over anything. And he's still trying to get me down to the ground, but I was still being electrified.
I'm sick of this, and I'll tell you why I'm sick of it. Because while these pathetic, naive people, despite all the evidence before them, are looking the other way, oh no, it's just paranoia, while they're doing that, they are allowing these people to impose their will on my children, on my life, and I'm not having it. And if people would just engage a few more brain cells, open the eyes and look, they will see the scale of fascism, no other word for it, that we are being subjected to today. And if you don't wake up and you go on looking the other way, well, the fascism just gets more, and eventually it will dawn on you, and by then it will be too late. Don't look to me for sympathy when it happens, mate, because you got your chance now.
Now sign it. Get over here now! Give it to me and I'll sign it. Oh, you're going to shove me? Ma'am, you're going to shove a 72-year-old woman?
The shove, the constable's office says, served to get the two out of oncoming traffic. Then, the deputy warns her.
You'll sit back and do the tape. Go ahead, hey! Hell! 72-year-old woman needs to sit back or I'm going to tase you.
After 5 warnings to stand back or get tasered.
Step back and you're going to be tased, man. Put your hands behind your back. I'm getting back in my car. You're going to be tased. Stop. I'm getting back in my car. No, ma'am. Taser. Get on the ground. Get on the ground. Now put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back. You're going to be tased again.
And if they, the people sitting on their backsides and sitting on their hands and looking the other way now, don't join with those who are challenging this gathering police state, then those who are challenging it now, who've understood what's happening and the methods used to impose it, they are going to be not with us when the knock comes on their door. Oh, I've just had a knock on the door. What do I do? Go down the concentration camp, mate. There's loads of people there who were telling you years ago that this was coming. You were watching the soap at the time, remember? It's unbelievable that people can be so blind when now it is so close to their eyes.
By order of the City of Pittsburgh Chief of Police, I hereby declare this to be an unlawful assembly. I order all those assembled to immediately disperse. You must leave the immediate vicinity. If you do not disperse, you may be arrested and or subject to other police action.
I'm speechless. I am.
Good Lord. There are no words. Could you explain the reasons for all of this, sir? What's happening? Sir? Could you explain what's happening? Why we have to disperse?
What you see with people is that they're desperate to hear what they want to hear. And they're desperate for people to say, oh, no, these conspiracy theorists, they're all crazy, you know, they're all paranoid. It's not really going on. It's ridiculous. And this is done to protect you. This is done for you. You know, we're the government. We care for you. This is why we're doing it. So you go to sleep, you know, watch the telly. There's a game on in a minute, and you'll be fine. And we're just going to build another concentration camp. Okay, see you later. And what we need to do is stop this self-indulgence of picking up what we want to hear and trying to get ourselves to believe it. There's not a problem here. And actually look it in the face and realize that, if anything, George Orwell understated what we are heading towards unless we step up en masse and say enough, no more. So, are we going to make a stand now and draw a line in the sand and say here and no further? In fact, we're going to roll this back? Or are we going to wait until it's got really, really extreme, by which time there'll be so much infrastructure in place that drawing a line in the sand will be a serious challenge? And it's no good. I said to some policemen in Parliament Square a few months ago, ask yourself, when your child says to you, Mummy and Daddy, what were you doing when the police state was introduced? Oh, well, I was watching the telly, honey. Or in the policeman's case, I was helping to introduce it, dear. That's the situation we're facing. I'm sorry that I'm struggling to find words, because words fail me. The idea that governments, with their record, have the interests of the people at heart. Anyone who believes that is basically a lost cause in terms of understanding what's happening in the world. And I'll just leave them to get on with it. And when the knock comes on their door, don't call me. If people don't like it, well, they just have to do the other thing, because this is how it is. And we either face it now, or we face it a little bit further along the road, when if we think it's not very good now, it'll be a bloody nightmare by then. It's time to lift the arse off the sofa and bring an end to this nonsense, because otherwise we're just building our own prison cell or sitting around while someone does it. Is that sensible? I think not.
Rise like lions after slumber in unvanquishable number. Shake your chains to earth like dew, which in sleep has fallen on you. Ye are many, they are few. When we figure that out, there goes their way of life.
On Freedom Watch, we've tracked not just the most obvious, grandiose actions of our ever-expanding government, but also the everyday civil liberties violations that often go unnoticed. The war on drugs is the most common reason for the use of extreme tactics by local police. SWAT raids and even the use of military hardware are regrettably becoming more and more common. But what does it take for a home to become a target of a SWAT raid? Do you really have to be a terrorist cell, a major drug kingpin with several armed guards at your door? Answer no. Sometimes, unfortunately, you could be the target of a SWAT raid even on the mere suspicion of an anonymous informant that you may possess enough drugs to make you a likely dealer. And many innocents have been killed in such raids. In Columbia, Missouri, the police raided a family home 8 days after getting a search warrant against the head of the home. During those 8 days, they might have had the opportunity to observe the home and have learned that there were children inside, there were dogs inside, and there was no evidence of any drugs inside. They only found a little bit of marijuana residue inside a pipe. Instead of doing this, they performed a SWAT-style raid. They shot both family dogs, killing one. They terrified the children and the family, who were put in far greater danger from the raid than they ever were from anything that took place inside that house. Let's take a look at the footage of the SWAT team itself that it shot on the raid.
Columbia Police, search warrant! Get to the door! Go! Get to the door! Police department, don't move! Police department, don't move! Police department, don't move! Police department, don't move! We have a room here, you got it? I need one!
Need one.
I need one! Slow it down! Just a minute. Get past me. Move! Move past him! Move past him! Stay right there. Don't move! You understand?
This was America. Not East Germany or Nazi Germany, but Middle America. Joining us now is Mayor Bob McDavid and Mike Ferguson. Mike is the host of the Mike Ferguson Show on KSSZ, where they've been following and reporting on the case. The new mayor of Columbia, Missouri, Bob McDavid, who came to office after the raid, is now left trying to salvage the reputation of the police who did this. But can that be done as long as drug raids remain common? Joining me now is the man in charge of the local administration, Mayor Bob McDavid. Mayor, welcome to Freedom Watch.
Good afternoon.
When are the cops who did this going to be arrested and put in jail where they belong?
Well, we are right now, we've started a process to look at all the facts. You know all the facts basically that I do. A lot of the facts are in that video, which that video is certainly very disturbing. The process is going to go like this. First of all, let me say this, that the chief of police told me this morning, and will announce at a press conference this afternoon, 4 initiatives. The first is the threshold for using a SWAT team in Columbia, Missouri will be raised dramatically.
Right.
We can't be using this type of police action for nonviolent crime. That's obvious. The second initiative is that the intelligence needs to be actionable. We can't be obtaining a search warrant, waiting 8 days, and then throwing a SWAT team in on this information. That information is old. It's not useful. The new initiative, I'm told by the police chief, will involve action within 8 hours of the issuance of the warrant. The intelligence absolutely has to be accurate. The third initiative is that the responsibility will move well up the chain of command in the police department.
Right.
This can't be relegated to mid-level police officers. This needs to be a decision made at the top. And the fourth initiative that will be announced by the chief of police today is that this raid will be evaluated by our new Citizens Police Review Board, and the new Citizens Police Review Board will evaluate our policies and make changes, make recommendations for change in our policies.
Mike Ferguson.
This is a progressive.
Understood,
This
Mayor.
is a progressive college town, and we don't want this to happen again.
Understood. Mike Ferguson, what's the uproar amongst the public there?
Well, the uproar is right now coming not just from the video, which, as the mayor just said, is very difficult to watch. There's an emotional reaction, not to just hearing the dog get shot, but also the fact that there was a child in the house. But the uproar is coming in the fact that the warrant was served 8 days after, and then there's a secondary wave of people being upset because the fact of the matter is this was all over marijuana when no marijuana was found. So it was really a SWAT use on a non-violent situation. And the end result is that he pled guilty to a misdemeanor charge of having a pot pipe with some residue on it. So, the reaction has been, just overwhelming by certain parts of the community over not just the display of force, but why it was used, and that's been the precursor to the policy changes that the mayor just discussed, which has come really off of a lot of public pressure that's being responded to.
Mayor, I want to underscore again that you were not the mayor when this happened, but you are saddled with this problem. Shouldn't federal prosecutors look into the blatant violation of constitutional liberties by these cops? You don't serve a warrant 8 days later. There are less intrusive ways to find out what's going on in the house. There's no reason to kill the dog. There's no reason to use deadly force. There's no reason to terrify children, a terror that can live in their memories for the rest of their lives. What these cops did was far more reprehensible than the wildest things that could have happened inside that house on the basis of the information supplied to the judge who issued the search warrant.
Well, I'm not in a position to defend the actions. I am waiting for the report. This whole incident is going to be evaluated. All the facts will be presented, and we'll deal with it as we need to. I would parenthetically say that I think you're raising an important issue. There are 100 of these SWAT actions a day in this country, and ours stands out largely because we videotaped it and presented it publicly. It was actually presented through a Freedom of Information Act. I think the point that needs to be made is, what is the threshold at which this police tactic can be used? It needs to be reserved for high-risk, dangerous situations, and it needs to be taken out of that venue when we're dealing with nonviolent crime.
Right. Mike, the general principle of law is that you don't issue a search warrant on the basis of the words of an informant only. There has to be other testimony to substantiate what an informant tells you, because informants typically have ulterior motives for informing on the people on whom they inform. And the other general principle is you can't use deadly force unless there's reason to believe that deadly force is going to come back at you. Neither of those was followed in this case. Is there any pressure from any source to have federal authorities lock these cops up who did this?
Not here locally. We are hearing a citizen, uprising, calling for that, but at this point, I haven't heard that addressed. We haven't heard any federal pressure on that in the least bit. But you're absolutely right. Is that as far as we are being told right now, is that this was based on the testimony or the statement of an informant in mid to late January, before the warrant was issued on February 11th. As far as we know, there was no reason to believe that there were guns in the house. The only thing that we were told is a SWAT commander that I interviewed when covering this story told me that anytime drugs are involved, they tend to use a SWAT because of what they call a history of guns being around drugs.
Mike, big picture. This is the middle of Missouri, the middle of the country. This is quintessentially a middle America. Why is it even in a place like this the police are becoming militarized in the manner in which they enforce local, ordinary criminal law?
Well, I think that question could probably apply to all sorts of cities, and that is follow the money, is that there's a federal financial incentive to add paramilitary-style equipment and federal funding of these kind of raids. Right now we're being told, hey, the laws say they're illegal, we have to execute the warrants, but the fact of the matter is that Columbia, as the mayor said, is a very progressive town when it comes to social liberties, personal liberties, and recently the city voted to more or less decriminalize small amounts of pot. You basically get the equivalent of a traffic ticket for having small amounts of pot.
And yet these cops acted as if they were arresting Osama bin Laden. Mike Ferguson, Mayor, Bob McDavid, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Judge.
Me. Come on. No.
Okay,
you,
now.
you fucking children.
Listen to me.
Why would you do this
Come
to
on.
a fucking girl?
Come on.
Why would you do this? Don't grab me like that.
Listen to me.
Oh my god.
You better freaking quit.
Oh my god.
Just.
Was that necessary?
Man, I was trying to get you to the car, and you continue to resist. Sit up.
It was not
Just
necessary.
sit.
It was look at my shirt. I'm bleeding. That was not necessary. Oh my god. That was not necessary. I am 130.
Can you watch? Yes, you got it.
Oh my god.
Under her chin. Hey, just, I'm gonna get some lotion.
That was not necessary.
Bit ćete osuđeni kao ratni zločinac. I ja ću vam biti na suđenju.
He doesn't give it. Tell him that his mother is a whore
Tvoja majka je kurva,
and that he looks like a pig.
a ti izgledaš kao svinja.
In fact, he's an insult to
U stvari ti
humanity.
si uvreda čovječanstva.
Tell him that if he wants to kill me,
Ako hoćeš mene da
it'd
ubiješ,
be a lot harder than beating up
bit će
young
puno
girls, but
teže
maybe he does
nego
that
tući mlade
because he
cure,
doesn't
a
have a
možda
dick.
to radi zato što nemaš kurac.
Get your dick out.
Izvadi kurac.
Now, come on, let's see your dick.
Ajde da ima kurac svoj.
Or are you a eunuch?
Jel si možda evnuh?
Did your mother bite it off when you were having
Možda majka
sex?
tvoja odgrizla dok ste imali seks.
Come on, why let me insult you?
Zašto puštaš da ti
Thought you were a
vrijeđam?
man.
Mislio sam da si čovjek.
Come on, fucker, sort me
Ajde
out.
kurvin sine, sredi me.
You want to rape me?
Mene da siluješ.
Come on.
Ajde.
Come on, you and me, mate!
Ti i ja.
Šta je?
Hello.
That croak was so happy to get his orders telling him to let us have the bodies. He knew that James wasn't going to stop until they provoked him, so as he could kill him.
In 1970, women police constables were finally fully integrated into the police service. Before then, women police were still organized in a separate section called the Policewomen's Department. Their mainly social work duties included picking up missing girls and being sent out to deal with female offenders, so that if a woman was found shoplifting, a policewoman would deal with the arrest. Women police did night patrol work in club areas to prevent young girls getting into trouble. Sometimes they were loaned to the A.C.A.B, or uniform branch. The specialist aspect of the policewoman's work was not so rigid when she was out patrolling the streets, and like her male counterpart, she would have then to deal with anything that came along.
We have two officers to search, please. Keep them there for a moment, non-compliant. Two officers to search. Two officers, please.
Stop pressure pointing me! Stop pressure pointing me! Stop pressure pointing me! Ow, my arm! Get off my arm! Get off me! I'm refusing to be searched. I'm refusing to be searched. I wasn't going anywhere. I am refusing to be searched.
Let go of his leg now.
I am refusing to be searched.
Okay there, Clive.
Peter, what have the police planned for the next few days?
Well, currently it appears there are more police than protesters, but that's hardly surprising because the campaigners have said they will take direct action. To stop that happening, the police have earmarked a budget of £1 million to police this event, and there will be 1,400 officers on standby, and they've been drafted in from 26 different forces up and down the country.
I mean, there are thousands of students protesting today, or people I should say, most of them, the vast majority, very peaceful. Is it clear who these people are who look like they're causing trouble?
Well, I mean, I followed the march all the way from the start, and basically there was a little bit of trouble on High Holborn, but talking to police officers when it started, they had already identified that there were known people who were members of known anarchist groups in the crowd at that point, and they haven't, as we're aware, nothing really has broken away from this main demo, so we can only assume that, you know, that those kind of people are mixed up in this crowd. And we've witnessed ourselves, there are many, many people here dressed in black. I would just move out of the way now because the horses are charging past me. Sorry for that. The horses are now actually charging at the crowd. This is a full-on charge. You can probably see it on the helicopter pictures. And the police line has broken. The horses are now moving backwards again towards me.
The other thing is that I noticed some time ago, Alex, that in Britain and around the world, but Britain because I've lived there and I've seen the change, but a very, very different type of person in uniform and person in dark suit administration was being employed, and the nature of the police, the personality of the police, of airport security, of government administration, was changing. And I wondered, I know they've done it, but how have they done it? And what I realized is that they do something called, among other things, something called psychometric testing, which is a way of asking questions like in job interviews to glean the person.
No, it's on record. They hire dumb, power-seeking thugs and control freaks and moron Dudley Do-Rights.
Yeah, and the two characteristics they're after, and anybody who's been interacting with law enforcement and government administration and the TSA and stuff will understand this. One is a narcissistic personality, which is described as a psychological condition characterized by self-preoccupation, lack of empathy, the repeating...
David, stay there. Back in 60 seconds, davidike.com.
Yeah, I was talking about these personality types that they have systematically targeted for the uniform and dark suit professions. Narcissist, a psychological condition characterized by self-preoccupation, lack of empathy, and unconscious deficits in self-esteem. And it's the unconscious deficits in self-esteem that cause these people to act absolutely over the top. When you challenge them, it's like, how dare you challenge me? People getting tasered for just asking for the law that they're being arrested under. And the other one is the psychopath, which is very close. A person with an antisocial personality disorder manifested in aggressive, perverted, criminal, or immoral behavior without empathy, here we go again, or remorse. And of course, all over America and increasingly around the world, you're seeing exactly that type of personality in the uniform professions, policing, protests and peaceful protests and what have you, and with their brutality. And it's been systematically done. See, when you want to control the population, you don't want to employ people to enforce your will who have a conscience. That's your worst nightmare. You want people who you've described it, mate, who get a kick from enforcing these things upon other people. That's why they're targeting these personalities, and there's business transformation of the personality in the police around the world, from the old school. And any of those that remain, their daily life must be a nightmare when they live among this stuff now, to this psychopathic, narcissistic, brutal control freak that we see increasingly in uniform.
Well, I tell you, I should do a news report on this, because over the years I've seen the articles, I've read it. Every time I mention it, people don't believe me. But you can find mainstream news. We're going back about 20 years under federal grants. They will not hire officers with over 100 IQ. That's where it starts. Then they have these specialized psychological tests that are between 500 and 1,200 questions, and they can and they say, oh, we're identifying if you're a liar or whatever. No, they are identifying. Before, they wanted tough guys that would follow orders, and wanted to protect people. You know, in the old days, it was you weren't in too many fistfights in high school or whatever. You know, your family doesn't. You know, you don't come from tough guys. We don't want you. Or you know, but now it's. They literally want people that relish dominating. And that's why I've been in New York and places and seen women walk over and go, "Officer, would you know where this is? Do I look like a phone book? I'll arrest you right now." I mean, it is just outrageous. They want you to know you are trash. We are God.
Yeah, like the guy walking down from his shift at Los Angeles airport was banging his chest like Godzilla, shouting, "I have the power." This is the mentality that we're dealing with, and it's been systematically done, and therefore the relationship, the dynamic between law enforcement and police and government.
Up to these warrantless checkpoints now. I've actually pulled up to them, but they've got them all over the country, and they'll tell you, "Get out of that car, get over there." I mean, and you watch them. And I've been in New York and seen the Hercules teams, guys in black uniforms with their guns. They just get off, and everybody looking at them they'll sit there for 10 hours just getting off, and everyone's scared of me. I'm powerful. It looks clownish to those of us that are real men and realize just what a pile of weak cowardice they are. You can see the weakness right there in front of you. You know, I mean, a real man wants to defend humanity and is strong. They don't want to stand around and bug their eyes out and you know, cops ordering people around. And I've been in New York a few months ago, and there was a parade out there when I went for a walk, and they were just barking at people and looking at everyone. I mean, if I made a dystopic movie, David, it could not, if the police acted this thuggish and hateful towards the public, and it's not like this in all cities, you wouldn't believe the movie because it would be too over the top. Do you see what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we have reached the level of almost it being farcical. It's a B movie we're living through, and these people are emotional cripples. You know, people who are deeply, deeply insecure have to externalize their sense of success. So, you know, people who have security or are secure within themselves, they're happy just to live their lives. They don't need people constantly confirming how powerful they are or how important they are or successful they are. And so the insecure people, they're the ones that drive down the street at 5 miles an hour in the, you know, in the Bentley so everyone can see them and all that stuff, because they need externalized confirmation that they're okay people. This is why people want more and more money. Oh, we've got a bigger house, and oh yeah, they're externalizing their insecurity. And you get the same process with these emotional cripples in uniform. They're externalizing their sense of self, because by frightening people and intimidating people and watching the people being intimidated, they get their sense of power, their sense of how big they are, because they're just pathetic. I mean, they are little boys in short trousers. That's what I see. The playground bully. You know, I had a childhood experience with a playground bully, which actually taught me a lot about the rest of my life, actually. So, you know, I remember it. You know, and what happened, short story, or long story short, is the playground bully turned out to be a coward. And that's what these people are behind all this stuff. And when you challenge them in the most, you know, pleasant way, the taser comes out, or this comes out, you know, the aggression comes, because they cannot stand their apparently massive, but actually very, very fragile ego being challenged. And this is the mentality. And because I travel so much, it's everywhere. They did the same to protesters in Melbourne and Sydney while I was in Australia in very recent days. The same mentality is being employed all over the world because it's a global blueprint.
It is. I mean, that's the proof. Now they admit there's global standardization, and global in Australia to the UK to Canada, the US, they take blood for now 40 years secretly. Standardization of the electronics. This is global. This is global blueprint.
Yeah, and it's very simple, the way they've done it. I explain this in my talks and my books. What they've created, Alex, is the global version of a transnational corporation. The headquarters at operational level is in Europe, in places like Belgium, City of London, Rome, Germany, France, and to an extent America, but not as much as you think. You know, what they've done with America is they've set America up for guys. So America fires the bullets, but they're overwhelmingly loaded in Europe.
Yeah, we've always been the big enemy because we went against them for a short period. We're set up to take all the blame, pay for everything, and then be destroyed.
Exactly that. That's exactly the story. If you look at McDonald's, they have a headquarters in Europe, and then they have subsidiaries all around the world. And the subsidiary has to impose the corporate global blueprint of the headquarters.
The corporate vision, the corporate message, the corporate handbook.
Yeah. So you go into McDonald's in Moscow or Johannesburg or Sydney or London, and you go into the same McDonald's. Now, what these people, this cabal has set up is exactly the same, but it's secret societies and bloodline families. So you've got the headquarters in Europe, what I call the spider, and it dictates the global agenda and the timeline for its unfolding. Then, in each country, you've got a network of bloodline families under different names and the secret society network which manipulates them and their agents and gophers into power. And their job is to impose in their sphere of influence, their country, the centrally dictated blueprint agenda. And therefore, the same things are coming in, like smart meters and all this stuff, all over the world at the same time. And then there's another level in which the subsidiary network in the country has subsidiary networks within the country that control the cities and the towns and the regions. And so it's this kind of holographic blueprint where every part of the network is a smaller version of the whole, that they can orchestrate this global agenda through. And it's been in place now for a long time. And this is where it's working. And this is why you'll find the same narcissistic, psychopathic personality being employed in law enforcement all over the world, because it's centrally dictated through this network.
Well, they're administering the same psychological test, and all of that's compartmentalized. They say the test score means one thing, but decoded, if you look at the test, I've seen articles, it's really, okay, we've got a sociopath, we got a psychopath, we've got, well, is he a high-functioning psychopath? Put him in a low level, watch him, see if we can move him up. Right. Because they don't want an out-of-control one. And then they mainly just want dumb kind of, we're the good guys, do what I say or I taser you. Did you see, boss? Did you see? That's kind of like the general group they want on the bottom. And heaven help these people.
Welcome to the InfoWars Nightly News. I'm your host, Melissa Melton. The date is Monday, September 10th, 2012, and here's a look at what we have coming up.
Tonight, Melissa Melton sits down with Lenore Skenazy of FreeRangeKids.com to explore why some people believe letting your kids play outside by themselves is a crime. Then, our government is hoarding ammunition like it's planning for war, but a man can't even buy a few boxes of ammo without being investigated by local police. Plus, we break down the real unemployment numbers, and massive censorship at CNN is brought to light. All this and more coming up on the InfoWars Nightly News.
Our first story tonight, a man is being investigated by police for buying a couple of boxes of ammunition at his local gun shop. Apparently, Brian Loftus was purchasing a few boxes of ammunition when a concerned customer called the police and reported him to make sure he wasn't, quote, going to do something crazy. After police left Brian Loftus's residence, he put up this video on YouTube.
As someone that has sworn an oath to defend the Constitution like I have, and these officers have, they have to wonder, how many people are they going to call? They're going to call their brother-in-law next time he goes to buy some ammunition? Or their brother or sister or son? I mean, where does it end? We're supposedly in a free country, and I've committed no crime and have no record. And, I shoot that amount of ammunition on a good weekend at the range, so why are they calling me to make sure that I'm not going to do something crazy?
So this is just one more example of how Americans are being intimidated out of using their Second Amendment rights. You can't even go into a gun store and buy a few boxes of ammunition without somebody tattling on you to the police that you might do something crazy. However, your government can buy billions of bullets, spend your money to do it, black out the information on the purchase orders, and then never even tell you why. So you're not supposed to suspect your government when it buys billions of bullets. That's not a terrorist act. You're supposed to suspect the guy down the street when he buys a couple of boxes for shooting off at a firing range. And this just goes to show you how they're trying to perpetuate this idea that we're all terrorists, every single one of us. And that actually goes into our next story. The FBI has begun installation of a $1 billion face recognition software across America that will apparently archive and accumulate information about each and every American at a cost of $1 billion. The Next Generation Identification Program is implementing this intelligence database in unidentified locales across the country, and the mission is to reduce terrorist and criminal activities. And it says here that they are able to provide services to enhance interoperability between stakeholders at all levels of government, local, state, and federal, and international partners. So that sounds fun. And apparently this program will be in full swing in only 2 years, when they plan to have 14 million photographs of people. So they're going to be having 14 million photographs in this giant police state grid, and they're going to be sharing that everywhere, local, state, federal, and all across the world. So the government wants to perpetuate this idea that anybody can be a terrorist, we're all terrorists, when if you actually look behind it at the real truth, every single terrorist attack has pretty much been perpetuated by our government. So if anything, they're the terrorists, not us.
Alex Jones here with a message that could revolutionize health in this country. Going back about 1.5 years ago, I began to learn about the incredible health effects of longevity products. Aaron Dykes lost 92 pounds. We're going to show you some before and afters. Aaron, break down what happened, your story.
I've worked really hard with diet and exercise to try to lose weight, but I just didn't get the results. It just didn't happen. Then I saw what you were doing with InfoWarsTeam.com. I wasn't even trying to lose weight, but I got it because I wanted to feel better energy. I wanted that nutrition. Didn't even understand how that could kickstart my own weight loss goals, but the products did that for me. I found myself suddenly losing weight, more energetic, wanting to exercise, wanting to eat the right foods.
And they don't even advertise it as weight loss. I want to challenge our radio listeners to go to InfoWarsTeam.com, sign up as a distributor, and get wholesale pricing discounts at InfoWarsTeam.com.
And people are starting to wake up to this fact. And that actually takes us into our next story here. President of Italy's Supreme Court to refer 9/11 crimes to International Criminal Court. Ferdinando Impassimato is the honorary president of the Supreme Court of Italy, but he's also a member of Lawyers for 9/11 Truth. And he has now stated publicly that he believes that 9/11 is a false flag terror attack, and he's announced officially that he's going to recommend it to the International Criminal Court to hold a criminal trial on 9/11. And he states in here that former head of Italian counterintelligence, former Italian prime ministers, and Italian judges have all admitted that terrorist attacks in Italy and other European countries in the 50s were carried out with NATO and the help of the Pentagon and CIA. And he believes that 9/11 was, again, one of those attacks. And so he's going to go ahead and turn that in. And I think that's a good on all of us. Everybody who said 9/11 was an inside job, all of us who have been pioneering for truth on this, who didn't take the official story at its word, who knew there was something more to it, who knew that Building 7 didn't just blow itself up. This is a victory right here. He's going to take this to International Criminal Court, and I hope we get at least some semblance of justice. Judge Impassimato is just the latest in a string of high-profile people in high government positions to come forward and openly admit on record that they believe that 9/11 was an inside job. And you know, with the anniversary of 9/11 coming up tomorrow, the mainstream media is just going to continue to sell you this idea, as they have for the last 10 years, that there's terrorists hiding under every rock, that we all need to live in fear constantly every day, that the TSA needs to grope our children at the airport, and that we can't leave our house without being afraid that another terrorist might attack us, even though we know on record that our government funds Al-Qaeda. And basically the bottom line is this was a false flag attack. It was orchestrated by our government, the whole entire war on terror, just to strip us of our rights and freedoms so they can preemptively attack other countries for empire building.
Visit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. When you're on the sites, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want.
Is this okay? Is this okay?
March all over this, I dare you! March all over it! Every single one! Put your fist on this! 99%! You can tell me the rest of the deal, 99%! And you're listening to your fucking phone! Ow! 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 You're like fucking fuck! He shot me! United!
The name of the people of the state of California command all those assembled at 14th and Broadway. This person is available now. Must leave now.
This is a point I think is very important to stress to those in uniform and to those in the dark suits in government who are serving this system while not actually instigating it, they're serving it. You have no power. I don't care if you're in the military. I don't care if you've got how many kind of stars on your uniform. I don't care what level of the police force you're in. I don't care if you're doing roadblocks. I don't care if you're pulling people off the street. I don't care what you're doing. You have no power. Your uniform has the power. Take your uniform off, okay? Put it in the wardrobe. Where's your power? Go and get another job. Without that uniform, where's your power? You have no power. You are employed to animate that uniform, which is an extension of the state, and that's all you are, and therefore you are expendable. While you give your soul away, while you give your mind away, while you give your morals and decency away, advancing this fascist dictatorship, you will be okay with the fascists that you're serving. But your children and your grandchildren have to live in the world you are creating. And one day you're going to have to understand that, and I don't envy you that moment, because it's going to be horrific when it dawns upon you the world that you've actually created. The people in uniform and the dark suits that administer the system while not being the originators of it, they have to start breaking ranks, okay? Get some backbone, open your mind, look at what's going on, and get some freaking backbone before you administer and
impose and enforce a world that will be grotesque for your children and grandchildren. In fact, not even that, for yourself.
They look at the world, they know there's something not right. There's something that's not the way they want it to be, and they feel uneasy about it. But they try to placate those fears, not by facing them, but by trying to find a way of making them disappear with words like, oh no, we would never allow a police state. Not in America, no, never allow a police state. Britain, never allow a police state. Wonder if they said that in Germany just a few decades ago. We'd never allow a dictatorship in Germany. We're a land of freedom. And look what happened. In a few short years, they had a grotesque dictatorship. And that's how fast it can come. From the Weimar Republic to the Nazi dictatorship in Germany by Hitler and company was a few years, not even a few decades. And the greatest weapon of any dictator is to divert attention from the people. So they're looking the other way and allowing the dictatorship to be built and imposed and all the infrastructure put in place. So by the time they absolutely have to face reality, it's all there. It's all done. There are two types of control. One you can see, touch and taste: communism, fascism, dictatorship like apartheid in South Africa. You know that you're in a dictatorship. That has a finite life, because when people know the situation they're in and they can see their controllers, then the desire for human freedom, it may take some time, but that desire will eventually overturn that control. The greatest form of control is dictatorship you cannot see, the prison without the bars, as I call it, with the facade of freedom and this farce called democracy, which is ludicrously connected to the word freedom when it is anything but. And this covert control leads people to sit in a prison cell thinking they're free because they can't see the bars, because they appear to be free, but appearance is all that it is. So when you had this apparent explosion of freedom around the world, when the former colonies were given independence, what actually happened was dictatorship they could see was replaced by dictatorship they couldn't see, far more potent, far more effective. You will be in a situation where you will be monitored by cameras all the time. I mean, in Britain now, it is estimated by official organizations that in a normal working day, someone in a town or city in Britain is captured on 300 plus cameras. That's now. And the surveillance is not for the population in general. You know, if you read Orwell's book, 1984, you know, Big Brother was not focusing attention on controlling the whole of the population or monitoring the whole of the population primarily, because most of the population would just sit there and stew anyway. And were no problem to this control. That what this surveillance was targeting, or what the surveillance is targeting now, are people who are challenging the system, people who are becoming aware of what's going on and having the guts to try to do something about it. But we are now at the point where those institutions and these institutions of control and surveillance and all the rest of it are now being put in place. So this hidden dictatorship all this time is now coming to the surface where it can be seen. And this gives us an opportunity for people to actually start to do something about what's happening. Because instead of being some far off, sometime over the rainbow, it might come some time. It's now in our face. The police state is staring us in the eye. And it's getting more and more imposed upon us and more imposed on society every day.
employees for Reuters News Service. 40-year-old Saeed Chong and 22-year-old Amir Noor al-Din. Amir was considered one of the best photojournalists in Iraq. Their names were added to the video here by WikiLeaks for clarity. They carry their cameras, not what the pilots what they saw. Moments later, they're attacked. Come on, fire.
means a choice right now between fear and love. Fear is the four-letter word that has controlled this planet and this human race for thousands of years. Love is the word that will set us free.